Guys, the Blue Lock manga chapter 300 leaks just dropped, yeah, boys. Literally yesterday. They dropped, gang. They dropped. We better get into it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Blue Lock, bro. I've been heavy into Blue Lock, bro. Blue Lock is such a fire manga twin. But I will still never watch football, though. I will still never watch it. I'll be honest. I'll watch anime football, but I will not watch real football. I'm sorry. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm just not that too deep in. I just like the anime. I'll be honest. But let's get into these leaks, bro. Let's get into these motherfucking leaks, bro. Come on.
Back with another Blue Lock leak video, and today we will go over chapter 300. Now, this chapter was extremely heavy, as we see Nagi and Rio saying their final goodbyes to each other. But I don't want to say too much, so you will just have to sit back and watch to find out what happens. Anyway, before jumping into it, please leave a like and a comment, as well as join the Discord server. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Also, if you want to check out the leaks for yourself, then I will put a link down in the comments where you can look at them. So we start this chapter off with the text saying, "To Rio, with whom I shared a dream, there's something I want to tell you. What is Nagi thinking right now?" We then see Nagi, who's still sitting down on the ground while Rio is by his side crying uncontrollably. Nagi then speaks up and says Rio's name. Rio looks over, and Nagi begins to get up on his feet. He tells Rio that he doesn't feel any regret, and that it's just like Ego said, that Nagi was satisfied. Nagi now looks at Rio and tells him that he beat Isagi, and that he just wanted to keep playing football with Rio forever, saying that honestly, that alone would have made him happy. But a dream like that was simply not enough, and to survive in Blue Lock, his dream was too small and too childish. Nagi then thinks back all the way to the Manshine City versus Bastard Munchin match, and says that if he hadn't relied on Rio back then, when he was annoyed because he couldn't beat Isagi, then just maybe there would have been a different future than the one he has now. They both look at each other, and Nagi then apologizes to Rio. Nagi then continues and says that more than his desire to become the best in the world, in the end, what scared Nagi the most was the thought of not being able to be with Rio anymore. Nagi starts to then look down towards the ground and tells Rio that he was able to become strong. He apologizes for not being able to find a new dream, for passing the ball, and for not being able to take the shot on his own. Hearing Nagi apologize only makes Rio cry even more than he already was. So he goes forward to Nagi and puts his hand on his shoulder and tells him that it's enough and to not apologize. However, as Rio says that he looks absolutely crushed and destroyed, while having a shaky tone, he tells Nagi that he didn't do anything wrong. Even though Rio can barely get his words out, he continues and says that even though Nagi never truly loved soccer, he was simply going along with his dream. Rio then becomes the one who apologizes, as he apologizes to Nagi for pushing him, for making him try so hard, and telling him that he doesn't need to try anymore, and to not apologize anymore.
Oh shit, twin. Oh my god, I was wigging. Oh my god, I was wigging out, twin. We must stay focused. We must stay focused, my brothers. We must stay focused. We must stay focused, my brothers. We must stay focused. We must stay focused.
Nagi looks at the broken down Rio and takes his hand as he says his name. He holds his wrist and tells Rio that he was happy, explaining that even if Rio is pushy, selfish, and kind of a coward. However, even with all of that, when Nagi is with Rio, he's been able to discover so many new sides of himself. Nagi then starts to think back to the first selection, and all the way to the Neo-Egoist League, as he says that he finally felt what it was to become fired up, telling Rio that he also discovered the uncool and frustrated sides of himself. There are so many cruel things that Nagi admits that he said to Rio, but he also learned that winning feels seriously amazing. And then the most important one is the thought of Rio disappearing, which made Nagi start to feel lonely. Rio looks shocked as he is hearing this, and his eyes widen as he looks at Nagi. Hey, it's Natsu, mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? Nagi, however, just looks serious as he tells Rio that to someone like himself, who always found everything bothersome, Rio gave him light and everything. Since he met Rio, it's been the greatest treasure of his life. We then see that as Nagi is thinking about this, he mainly thinks back to their school time together, but also their hard training days, where they would play football until both of them passed out basically. We then have another panel, but the text isn't visible, so I will skip over it as there's no text that we can use at the moment. Anyway, Nagi then gets even more serious, as he tells Rio that maybe it would have been better if they had just passed each other by, telling Rio that he could have become even stronger, or maybe the world they dreamed was just beyond this point. We then see the vision of them winning the U20 World Cup together, slowly fading away, as Nagi tells Rio that their dream of being the best in the world is where it ends. Hearing those words must have struck deep in Rio, as his tears just came running down his face at an insane speed, as he slowly realized that everything was done for now. Anyway, Nagi, with a dead-stoned expression, puts his hand on Rio's head and tells him goodbye. Nagi keeps his hand on Rio's head, as he tells him that on his own, Rio will become the best in the world. Rio, hearing more sad words, gets even more emotional and breaks down even more. We then see everyone looking at Nagi, who's leaving the building. It's Igarashi, Baru, Zantetsu, Chigiri, Kunigami, and Bachira. However, there's one more, and that's of course Isagi, who, through the TV screen, screams Nagi's name, which makes him look back at Isagi. The two of them look at each other before Isagi's aura starts to come to life again as he screams towards Nagi not to quit football. Nagi doesn't say anything, but just looks at him before he and the other eliminated players walk out of the pitch. And with that, the Blue Lock Phase 2 Neo-Egoist League is completed, and the next phase is the U20 World Cup. The end text says, "The future of glory and disgrace and of dreams, a new chapter of Blue Lock begins." Anyway, the next chapter will be called Parade, which I don't know if they mean that the surviving players will have some sort of celebration that they survived. However, sadly, for some bad news, I have to say that there will be a break next week, which honestly sucks so insanely much, as we are really in the peak of Blue Lock right now, and I don't know how I will survive 1 week without Blue Lock. Anyway, with that out of the way, we should probably try to go over this insane chapter. Now, I don't really have anything to say about Rio's and Nagi's talk in this chapter, as it was just a lot of back and forth and crying. However, it was nice of Nagi in the end to put his hand on Rio's head to try and comfort him, and I feel like it actually made Rio feel a bit better, so that was a really nice thing of Nagi. Now I would have liked Zantetsu to say something to Nagi, kind of like how Isagi did. It just feels that if you are watching your close friend walking away, you don't just stay quiet. I'm sure he will still talk about it with Rio in one of the upcoming chapters, however. Saying goodbye to Nagi with some sort of encouraging words would have been nice if you ask me. Which was just what the poster boy and the goat Isagi did, as he screamed towards Nagi and told him not to give up on soccer, which I feel like will be brought up later in the story. Because if you ask me, then this is not the end of the road for Nagi. Don't get me wrong, he is never coming back to Blue Lock, and he will not become the #1 striker inside of Blue Lock anymore. However, I'm like 100% that he will join the club that bid on him, and then from there, he will become a wild monster in that club. And then maybe after the U20 World Cup arc, we will see the players go to their respective teams and play together, and there I feel like it will be the perfect place to reintroduce Nagi, as he will have gotten a lot of training, and would be most likely a lot better. But anyway, please let me know down in the comments what you think will happen to Nagi, and if he will return to the story or not. Anyway, now we are finally done with the long Neo Egoist League, and wow, it's been so long. I'm not too sure when I started to read Blue Lock. However, it was somewhere around the middle or start of the Manshine City game, which is crazy to think about, because now that feels so insanely long ago. Anyway, next up is the U20 World Cup, which I believe will completely destroy the internet, as there will be so much happening in that arc, and I can't wait to see what Ego's plan for them to prepare themselves for it is, if there will be an insane training program, or if he will make some sort of tournament vibe, like in the third selection, where the players will basically fight for a starting spot in the lineup. Personally, as we have already seen that happening before, I would like Ego to come up with something new and a new and different way to decide on the teams. However, at the same time, I don't care too much about what he does, as I know for a fact that it will be absolutely mind-blowing. Anyway, please let me know down in the comments what you thought about this chapter, and how you think Ego will do with the upcoming U20 World Cup. If you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are
Man, those, bro, that shit was. I ain't gonna lie to him. I really just, bro. I'm sorry, I just wait out to this shit, son. Oh boy. Hey man, I might upload this. I might not. Y'all might see it. I might not. I ain't gonna lie. Because I really just didn't even say nothing. I just like sitting here.